Hound's eyes are sparked open at 2:56 in the morning. She slides out of her pod and begins suiting up, glancing at the mission briefing that glares at her from her prefrontal cortex. Orker desynchronization in Gate 7. Poor sap. Still, nothing that should warrant her attention, so why was she being activated? The answer comes to her like a memory. One of the units sent to lock it down, an engineer by the name of Minerva Fletcher, has somehow sent an administrative-level request specifically for Hound. With a soft internal click, she answers the request in the affirmative. Not a particularly difficult mission, really. She'll be there by 3 and have everything cleaned up within a minute. Those were the events prior to the opening of Time Fight 2026, an animated video made by Turquoise. Maybe. Alright, it's essentially fanfiction, but it's fanfiction that's backed by hours of work and literally hundreds of calculations. In this video, I'll explain one possible sequence of events that would explain everything from the original video. In doing this, I'll also present a full timeline of everything that happened. I'll also release a supplemental unscripted video, hopefully at the same time, going over all the different individual perspectives of the incident. Now, there are other videos which edit the original into different perspectives, but I have one big problem with them. They're animated too well. I'm too busy looking at the beautiful moving pixels and listening to the exciting sounds to actually process anything. So, in order to avoid that problem, I'm going to remove all of the graphics and just focus on cause and effect. Before we begin, please go watch the original first. Like, for real, there is no point in watching this video if you haven't watched Time Fight 2026. Go do that right now. I'll wait for you. Alright, that's enough waiting. You watched it, yeah? Pretty cool, right? Now, before we get into explaining things, let me quickly introduce some hip time travel lingo. See, the trouble with time travel is that the past and future get all muddled up, right? Say I give you a high five, immediately travel forward an hour, then wait an hour. Was the high five 1 hour ago or 2? It was an hour ago for me and 2 hours ago for you. To deal with this, we use the concept of bulk time, the time that would be experienced by an observer who wasn't time traveling. Forward in bulk time is called Kate, and backward is called Anne. These are anglicized versions of the more traditional Kata and Anna. So, while we might disagree on how long ago the high five was, we can at least agree that it happened 2 hours Anne. If you'll allow a compound analogy, Anne and Kate are to before and after, as east and west are to right and left. To keep track of things even more easily, we will be numbering the characters by how many times they have traveled through time. This also makes sense literally, since the time travel is clearly the scan and print type, so it's technically a new person after each jump, just with the same appearance and memories. Got it? Good. Let's go. The first shot in the video is a map of Gate 7. The other words there are synonyms for gate in simplified Chinese and in Hindi, respectively. But hey, I promised no fancy graphics, so let's get this out of here. That's better. This is the map we'll be looking at the entire time. For ease of reference, I've labeled each of the areas. Up and to the left, we have the entrance, which leads to the outside world. Then we have the main hall, with the big windows, where all the most visually impressive fights take place. Across the elevator is the garage, which is full of weapons and a truck. Taking the elevator down leads to storage, at the other end of which is a sturdy door into the lab. Hopefully these names all make sense. Now let's meet our characters. First, I'd like to note that I'm changing their colors. The originals, below, are more reasonable human skin type hues, but for ease of identification, I've saturated the colors to their common names: yellow, orange, brown, and blue. I've also given each of them a more traditional name and the outline of a personality, since I was dealing with orange and blue portals, so I couldn't just call half the characters orange and blue. Here are the names that I used and that I will be using during this analysis. Yellow is a researcher by the name of Uzimandias. Orange is a security guard named Sax. Brown is an engineer named Minerva. And blue is Hound. Of course, we also have our antagonist, the Time Being, formerly known as Carluminous Tau Hutchinson. It doesn't really have a body in the original animation, so we'll just color it red. I will be referring to everyone by these names, which I think are memorable enough to avoid confusion. The numbers on the characters should help too. Without further ado, here is our stage, absent of players. The time is 2:55 in the morning and 23 seconds, and the facility has registered an Orker event in Nerebu 7, which is a fancy way of saying that the 3 nearest people who can operate guns have been called in to solve what should be a minor problem. These 3 people still won't arrive for another 2 minutes, and the facility is quiet. The very next second, at 2:55:24, 3 figures suddenly appear from 4 Minutes Kate. Hound 2, Uzimandias 1, and Hound 5. Notice the time above them written in orange. This means we'll be seeing them leave at that time Kate from now. 1 second later, Minerva 1 appears from 4 Minutes Kate. Hound 5 gives her the tablet she was holding, saying something like, "Take this to the garage. You said it's got loop data." Minerva 1 is baffled, but nods, taking the tablet. Minerva calls down the elevator to go to the garage. Meanwhile, at Hound 5's instruction, Uzimandias 1 begins unlocking the chronomace. Hound 5 opens a portal 5 Minutes Kate with a snappy, "I'll leave the welcome party to you two." Uzimandias 1 starts excitedly talking to Hound 2 about the chronomace. "I could talk for hours about the technological implications of the chronomace and how it works, but we'll have to set that aside for the time being." Something about the way he said that throws Hound off. The time being? "Yes, I'm sure you've met." Hound 2 starts pushing back the emerging time being while Uzimandias 1 continues to unlock the chronomace. She's doing a good job of holding it back, but she's running out of ammo when suddenly... Who's that? It's Hound 7 with the steel chair! Hound 7 appears flying through the air and helps out a lot with the fight for all of 5 seconds, before the monster that was once Carl Hutchinson punches her straight into next week. Still, Hound 7's contribution leaves Hound 2 with just enough opportunity to stave off the time being for a few more seconds. The monster that was once Carl Hutchinson is tougher than she can handle alone, though, and is about to strike down on Hound 2 when... the Yellow King manages to free the chronomace, tear open a portal, and pull both himself and Hound 3 Minutes Kate. And by the Yellow King, I don't mean like the king in yellow. I mean he is yellow, but I meant king in I just meant he's a cool guy. Let's move on. Minerva 1, now alone in Gate 7 with the monster that was once Carl Hutchinson, has been fiddling with the tablet this whole time and has successfully found the administrative level passcodes contained within. She uses the passcodes to call for Hound, as the tablet has told her she should. This leads to the scene I narrated in the intro of this video. The monster that was once Carl Hutchinson starts breaking down the lab door, which is sturdy enough that it'll hold for a good 3 minutes. Meanwhile, Minerva starts fiddling with the tablet somehow. I imagine there's more information about the loop in it, and some kind of program for hacking vehicles. Nothing interesting happens for a solid minute, so I'll take a moment to emphasize that this story is bootstrap paradox upon bootstrap paradox. Minerva only has the tablet with the passcodes because Hound gave it to her, but Hound was only there in the first place because Minerva had the passcodes. Not to mention, Minerva wouldn't even be alive to call for Hound if Hound hadn't been there a couple minutes Kate to save her from the time being. It's neat. Minerva 1 now has a better idea of what she needs to do, and she starts copying the files from the looped tablet to the original. At 2:57:30, the team of 3 that I mentioned earlier arrive. Uzimandias 0, Sax 0, and Minerva 0. For the next minute, the team slowly makes their way into storage, taking the elevator down. They miss Minerva 1, who is in the truck uploading the loop information to the tablet. Some noises from the lab door give them pause, and they draw their pistols. At 2:59 exactly, 2 things happen. Loudly and attention-grabbingly, the monster that was once Carl Hutchinson finally breaks through the lab door. The team, entirely focused on that, do not notice Sax 2 appear behind them from 37 seconds Kate. 6 seconds later, a lot happens at once. First, Hound 3 and Uzimandias 2, having just obtained the chronomace, appear in the lab from 3 minutes An. Note that the color of the time travel label is blue this time, because this is the Kate side of the connection. Second, Hound 4 appears from 93 seconds Kate and is sent flying past the ascending Sax 2 and into the garage. Another second later, and Sax 2 has reached the top of the elevator, while Hound 4 locks eyes with Minerva 1 in the garage. At 2:59:12, Minerva 1 hands the original tablet, now loaded with loop secrets and administrative passcodes, to Hound 4. She says something like, "Give this to me after your next jump and tell me to come here. It's full of loop data. I'll know what you mean." At 2:59:13, an incredibly confused Hound 1 appears in the main hall, having been apparently evaporated by a mysterious weapon. Meanwhile, Hound 4 accepts the tablet from Minerva 1, while Sax 2 snatches her chronomace, offering a quick, "borrowing this." Sax 2 runs to the main hall with Hound 4's chronomace just in time to meet Uzimandias 4 and Minerva 2, who appear from 96 seconds Kate. Meanwhile, the fight in storage is going poorly. The pistols aren't doing much against the monster that was once Carl Hutchinson, and Uzimandias 2 and Hound 3 are sneaking around using boxes as cover. Sax 2 regroups with the rest of their team and hands Hound 4's chronomace to Uzimandias 4, taking his shotgun for themselves, saying something like, "Gear up, 20 seconds. Uzimandias opens a portal for his team before handing Hound 4's chronomace to Hound 1. "Floor's about to explode. Good luck, doll." The team disappears into the portal, leaving Hound 1 to mutter a baffled, "What?" before kaboom! As promised, the floor explodes. Uzimandias 2 had thrown one of Hound 3's explosives at the ceiling in the previous slide, but I didn't tell you about it for dramatic tension. Hound 1 hits the ground fighting, blasting the monster that was once Carl Hutchinson with a shotgun. Hound 4, meanwhile, is almost to the bottom of the elevator. Hound 3 and Uzimandias 2 are still hiding. Hound 1 starts swinging wildly with Hound 4's chronomace, hitting Minerva 0, who is sent 4 minutes An, where she's about to receive the tablet. Hound 4 provides covering fire from the elevator. Hound 1 continues swinging Hound 4's chronomace. Sax 0 is zapped Kate by a mere 4 seconds, narrowly saving them from being absolutely pulverized by an incoming swing of the time being's hand. The fighting in storage continues, but at 2:59:32, something very important to us happens. The original animation starts. That's right, all the events that have happened so far occurred An of the first frame in Time Fight 2026. We'll represent this by having Hound 0, the one who had accepted the mission just 3 minutes prior, appear in the entrance. At 2:59:33, Hound 4 grabs her chronomace back from Hound 1, using it to pull the both of them, along with Uzimandias 0, 4 minutes An, so that the less experienced Hound can get a chronomace of her own to use. The time being enters the elevator shaft as Hound 3 and Uzimandias 2 finally emerge from hiding. Sax 1 reappears, bracing himself for impact, since just a moment ago, and 4 seconds in, their death had seemed imminent. Uzimandias takes Hound 3's chronomace and zaps Sax 1 Anne by 37 seconds, to the moment the time being first broke out of the lab. I'm honestly not sure why he does this. He shouldn't have any idea that Sax 2 had been in the room at that time. Perhaps he is being compelled to act by causality itself. At 2:59:39, Uzimandias hands the chronomace back to Hound 3, while zapping himself 54 seconds Kate. I'm especially not sure why he does this one. At 2:59:40, Minerva 3, Sax 3, and Uzimandias 5 appear in the lab from 22 seconds in, ready to hold off the monster that was once Carl Hutchinson. They are equipped with their signature weapons, Minerva with her minigun, Sax with their shotgun, and Uzimandias with his submachine gun. Hound 3 arrives at the top of the elevator to join the big epic fight scene. Then there's a big epic fight scene. While the big epic fight scene happens, Minerva 1 walks over to the elevator. This is uninteresting and doesn't appear anywhere in the animation, but it's important for continuity. Hound 3, Minerva 3, Uzimandias 5, and Sax 3 have the monster that was once Carl Hutchinson pinned against the door in a spectacular and bombastic show of force. Meanwhile, on the other end of the facility, Minerva 1 calmly sends the elevator down. Someone has to do it. At 3 a.m. exactly, the door to the main hall explodes, sending the combatants flying and allowing Hound 0 her first view into the main hall of Gate 7. This is the anchor point for the timing, by the way. All other times are decided relative to this explosion. The monster that was once Carl Hutchinson grabs Hound 3 by the head and holds her aloft, leaving her unable to do much damage to it. 11 seconds after the explosion, Hound 0 enters the fray, blasting the time being in the head. Hound 0 joins Hound 3 and they retreat further into the main hall. At 3:20, Hound 3 helps Minerva 3 up, and then sends her 35 seconds Kate to the final battle. They continue to retreat and Hound 3 helps Uzimandias to his feet. At 3:32, Hound 3 sends Uzimandias 32 seconds Kate to the final battle. Finally, at 3:23, Hound 3 sends the newly upright Sax 3 Kate by 29 seconds, again to the final battle. Hound 0 and Hound 3 are alone now, fighting the time being. I imagine they share a bit of banter while they fight, Hound 0 opening with a simple, "Hey there, beautiful, nice night we're having," and Hound 3 responding with a laugh and a, "What's a girl like you doing in a place like this?" "The harder they fall," Hound 9 exclaims gleefully, catching everyone completely off guard as she emerges from 27 seconds Kate, falling from above and hammering her chronomace into the time being. We then have the coolest fight of the entire animation. Seriously, it's so fascinating to see the comparatively ignorant and maceless Hound 0 and the more experienced Hound 3 fight alongside the near-superhuman Hound 9, especially with Hound 3 visibly picking up moves from Hound 9. It's fantastic. Oh, also, Hound 6 emerges in the lab from 5 minutes Kate. The amazing fight continues. Hound 6 runs toward the elevator to help out. Next week has come early. Hound 8 appears in the lab at 3:32, having been punched by the time being moments ago, and sails past Hound 6 into storage. At 3:33, Uzimandias 3 appears in storage, having successfully saved himself 54 seconds of waiting around. Gotta keep that adrenaline pumping. Meanwhile, in the actually interesting fight, Hound 9 sends Hound 0 80 seconds in. After conferring for a couple seconds, Hound 6 runs back to the lab to help Hound 1 fight, while Hound 8 and Uzimandias 3 run to the elevator. It's 3:39, and Hound fans will be devastated to learn that we lose 2 Hounds on this slide. Hound 3 is sent 93 seconds an by Hound 9, having taken a massive blow which sends her flying. Hound 6 jumps 5 minutes an to drive a metaphorical steel chair into the very literal time being. Meanwhile, Hound 8 spends the elevator ride kitting out Uzimandias 3, giving him a submachine gun to keep and a shotgun for Sax. Hound 8 and Uzimandias 3 meet up with Minerva 1, who has successfully configured the tablet to remotely control the truck, and has also taken a massive minigun from the desk. The trio of Hound 8, Uzimandias 3, and Minerva 1 move into the elevator room. Minerva inputs a command to her tablet, and the truck accelerates, slamming into the time being. The four converge to fight the monster that was once Carl Hutchinson, with Minerva apparently just ditching the tablet. Maybe it's in her inventory. At 3:51, just as Minerva 1 finally gets a handle on her minigun, Hound 9 smashes her mace through both her and Uzimandias 3, sending them 96 seconds an to regroup with Sax 2. 3:52 marks the start of the final battle. Sax 4 emerges from 29 seconds an, blasting at the monster that was once Carl Hutchinson. Hound 8 takes a leap off the truck at the time being and gleefully shouts, "The bigger they are," but is cut off by Hound 9, knocking her 27 seconds an. Uzimandias 6 returns from 32 seconds an, already firing his submachine gun. Minerva 4 returns from 35 seconds an, her minigun revved up and firing. Hound 9 starts unloading her entire arsenal into the monster that was once Carl Hutchinson, with Hounds 10 and 11 appearing from 3 seconds Kate to boost efficiency. I won't be marking down the times and numbers for these because they would be impossible to fit. Hounds 12 and 13 appear from 2 seconds Kate. The group continues firing. The massive barrage of firepower is working. The monster that was once Carl Hutchinson is pressed into the ground, getting smaller. Hounds 9, 10, 11, and 12 all return 2 or 3 seconds an to continue firing. The time being is rapidly becoming a time having been. The battle finally ends at 3:01 sharp, with nothing remaining of Carl Hutchinson save 3 black orbs that are probably unimportant. Everything was cleaned up within a minute of Hound entering the hall, as promised. She really is good at her job. The team, now consisting of Hound 13, Minerva 4, Uzimandias 6, and Sax 4, runs out of the facility, presumably to get burgers or something. The video ends at 3:01:24, both 6 minutes after the video began, and 6 minutes Kate of the first moment of action.